Welcome to Live the Dream with yours truly, Marty Kaiser. Buckle up and let's get started. Happy Friday, everyone. This is Marty Kaiser with our Friday edition of Real Estate Tidbits. Hope everyone's having a great week. Looks like weather's warmed up a little bit. Hopefully this trend will continue. It was too cold earlier in the week for my taste. So today I'm going to cover a variety of topics and hope they prove interesting and evoke some discussion and thought from everyone. The first thing I'll go over is give you a little update on the real estate market, what kind of numerics we're seeing in terms of trends both locally and throughout the United States. I'll start off with the Hunters Creek community because it's a community that obviously I talk about a lot and do a lot of business in. We're up to our highest inventory level in Hunters Creek in quite some time now. It fluctuates a little bit, but as of this morning, we had 50 active single-family homes. So that's definitely increased throughout the past few months. To give you an idea of the price range, I eliminated one outlier because there's one really small home that's unusual and it's low price, so it's not indicative of prices in Hunters Creek. Other than that, the lowest priced home is $405,900 and the highest priced home is $849,900. And of course, what I call the median pricing in Hunters Creek, where you see the bulk of your properties, probably are concentrated between $475,000 and $625,000. So that gives you a little bit of insight into price range. In terms of any home that I feel is a tremendous value right now, well, we do have a listing in the Mallard Cove section that we'll be doing an open house tomorrow, Saturday, from noon to 2. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool home. And the owner has authorized us to say that on an accepted contract, they will be putting a new home on the house prior to closing. And the asking price is in the low 400s. So it's a tremendous value. The address of that particular property is 2710 Talovet Drive. So keep that one in mind. If you have time, run by there tomorrow for the open house between 12 and 2. If you want more personalized information, you can call me at 407-595-9700. And of course, this is Marty Kaiser with Better Homes and Gardens. Regarding some trends that we're finding, it looks like inventory on a national basis is also increasing. It's not overwhelming increase, but it's a steady increase. And it'll be interesting to see if the inventory level growth coincides with the buyer demand. That's a key barometer because if inventory increases and demand increases, that'll continue the balanced inventory versus buyer conundrum that we're seeing. However, if inventory increases and demand does not increase, then ultimately you'll have an inventory imbalance, and that's going to be a market that tilts toward buyers. So keep a close eye out on that. One somewhat disturbing thing that we're finding on a national basis is that we're starting to see more distressed type properties. Many are in the pre-foreclosure phase, or you're having a higher percentage of people falling behind on their payments. Now, the good news is it's not like the real estate meltdown we had in 2008 to 11, but it is probably the first quantified downturn, so to speak, regarding the increase in distress situations that we've actually seen since the real estate market recovered, because we were having a steady increase of prices from approximately 2012 to 2023, 2024 and 25 typically were pretty flat, and so we'll keep a close eye on 2026. It's projected that we're going to see more short sales this year also. Short sales are always a little bit different, and basically what a short sale is you'll get a owner of a property that has fallen behind on their payments, and they have a high mortgage balance relative to the home's overall worth. So the only way that they can sell that basically is to sell it for less than they owe on it. That's called a short sale because the lender wouldn't get paid back 100% of what they're owed on it. It's a very nuanced transaction. There's a lot more challenges with it. It takes a lot longer, and it requires a lot more time and effort on everybody's part. But they do occur, and like I said, it's expected that we will start seeing an increase nationally in that. I haven't seen much in Central Florida as of yet, but I'm keeping my eyes and ears closely attuned to that. In the past, I unfortunately did participate in a fair amount of short sales, especially in the late 2008 to late 2010 timeline. And at that time, they were very challenging. There was not any consistency in the lending business, so it just made things a lot more challenging. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that that doesn't become too prevalent, but signs are there that it might be. Now, the other part of that equation is what we call the foreclosures, which you sometimes will hear the concepts bank-owned or REO. And basically what that means is that the lender hasn't gotten paid, they go through a legal process, and they potentially could become the owner of the home. Prior to the lender becoming the owner, these things go on the auction market through the county courthouse. Sometimes they'll sell that way. Other times, because the lender's not getting what they consider to be a high enough price for it, they become the official owner, and then they put the house on the market. Sometimes they will clean the house up, meaning that regardless of the condition that the folks that lost the house left it in, the lender will clean it up. Sometimes they'll make improvements to it if they think financially it's in their best interest to do that. Again, with bank owns, there's no consistency, so you just have to look at them and make a decision for yourself if it's something that you want to pursue. There's a perception that bank owns are always excellent values. Sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. Again, it just depends on the house, the neighborhood, the condition. And some of the time, the nicer bank owns actually get many offers on them, what we call multiple offer situation. And sometimes they get into a bidding situation where at the end of the day, the buyer has received no discount whatsoever. So the bank-owned properties require a skilled agent to guide you through that, to explain to you what they think is a good situation for you as a potential purchaser. But again, there's no exact predictability. You have to look at each property on its own merits. And again, it's something that I've sold a lot of over the years. And it's nice when you can get your buyer at excellent value on those. But you are competing against a lot of investors. And of course, out of those investors, a certain percentage of them are cash purchasers. So frequently cash purchasers will be preferred by the bank because it's a quicker, cleaner sale. But again, it just depends on the bank. It depends on if the cash purchaser is similar to the mortgage purchaser in terms of the agreed upon pricing strategies, etc. So that's something to keep an eye on. If you'd like more guidance in either of the two distressed realms, I'd be glad to talk with folks and explain it more in detail. I can be reached at 407-595-9700. One thing I did want to discuss, which we're kind of excited about, is we're going to focus in with a separate segment on YouTube and some of our sister links that we post information on. And what I mean by that, of course, for those of you who have listened, we've done about 100 podcasts now, and obviously we've covered real estate terminology and market conditions. We also typically have a little bit about sports, and sometimes we'll have a little bit of political commentary. So it's kind of a diverse show, but that's what our podcast has focused on and will continue to focus on. On our YouTube post that we just started yesterday, we're going to be more neighborhood oriented, so that we'll be focusing pretty much entirely during the YouTube information on specific neighborhoods. And they'll be in a video format, obviously, which is what YouTube is, where our podcasts are not. So, for example, yesterday's neighborhood focus was on Hunters Creek, and it had a lot of hopefully interesting information. Our YouTube data and video series will be focusing on a few select neighborhoods. We're going to continually have a lot of information about Hunters Creek because obviously, without patting myself on the back, I'm probably the most knowledgeable person about Hunters Creek, and I've been fortunate enough to be the number one agent in Hunters Creek for the past 27 years consecutively. I will also discuss some other areas that I particularly enjoy working in that I've had pretty extensive experience, and that'll be the Lake Nona area and some of the communities in Dr. Phillips. Lake Nona, for those of you that have visited Lake Nona over the years, is quite a big growing area, very popular with a certain segment of customers. And it has its own market niche where Hunters Creek, for example, we refer to as a planned unit development. It had a lot of planning go into it before they started building Hunters Creek, and the state had a lot of oversight with it. And they did a great job of becoming a preeminent master plan community. They actually got national recognition about 15 years ago on CNN Money Magazine. Lake Nona has also been spoken about, but in a little different format. Lake Nona basically is a large area of a lot of diverse communities. So Hunters Creek is one large community with 35 villages, where Lake Nona doesn't really have villages. They just have different neighborhoods. And they cover probably a little wider swatch geographically than Hunters Creek, because Hunters Creek basically is all encompassed between John Young Parkway and Orange Blossom Trail on the east side, and on the west side it goes from John Young Parkway to where it dead ends with the newest section, The Point. But overall, it's probably in totality, where the houses are located, probably no more than 3 or 4 miles. Where in Lake Nona, they actually have 3 or 4 dedicated exits right off the 417 Greenway. So you have different traffic patterns, different type of housing. It's a little different, but both are very popular areas, so we will be discussing those as well. So if you do, we have our own YouTube channel. You can just go on YouTube and ask for Marty Kaiser, and you should see my information pull up. So hopefully for those of you, you'll find that interesting and informative, more on a neighborhood basis. And we will alert you if we see something that would be particularly interesting within those neighborhoods. So that's a little bit about real estate today. Sports-wise, this is when we transition. Football's been over for a few weeks now, and we're in the last third of the NBA basketball season. So basketball right now has got a lot of teams that have an opportunity to possibly to be the ultimate champions. As of today, in my opinion, the two front runners, but this is subject to change, are the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs have surprised some with their tremendous growth this year because they're a very youthful team, and they didn't even make the playoffs last year. But right now they have the second or third best record in the NBA. And they have the phenom Victor Wembanyama. He's approximately a 7'6" player, originally from France. And he's in the process of revolutionizing basketball. Assuming he can stay healthy, he'll probably be the most dominant player in the NBA for years to come. Major League Baseball has just started spring training in the past week or two. So for those of you that like baseball, obviously there's a lot of locations in Florida that you can see spring training games. Spring training games are a little bit more relaxed. You can get closer to the players. Hopefully as the weather warms up, it's a nice way to relax. Grab a hot dog. It's a great family experience. They have stadiums somewhat nearby. You can go to Tampa. You can go to Lakeland. You can go to Melbourne, just to name a few of the locations in Florida. Last but not least, we had the State of the Union address the other night with President Trump. It was a unique speech, to say the least. It was one of the longest State of the Union speeches in modern day history. It lasted, I think, an hour and 47 minutes, so it was quite lengthy. The thing that was most interesting is we have different versions of life in the United States right now. What I mean by that is certain people are having certain experiences where it comes to high food prices, meat being astronomical, unemployment is a little bit more jumbled right now. Some of the bigger companies are laying people off. You probably read about Papa John's is closing a bunch of locations now. The tariffs have had a lot of effect. I think most people would feel they're a negative thing. The Supreme Court ruled against the way the tariffs had been implemented, but it seems that they have a workaround that's going to negate what the Supreme Court ruled. President Trump's version of life in the United States right now is the economy's doing great. I think for a large segment of the population, they don't feel the same way. So that's kind of open to interpretation. Again, as I've always mentioned when I discuss real estate or politics, you need to do your research and look at facts. Anybody can say anything, but facts rule the day. And unfortunately, the United States tends to, over the years, factual data seems to not always be accurate. Unfortunately, with the internet, there's a lot of things on there between AI and just flat out innuendos and rumors that are not accurate. You really have to do your facts check. If you believe some of the things that you hear, you're going to be dramatically misinformed, unfortunately. So that's a little bit of an update on a variety of topics. I hope those were informative and interesting for everyone. Everybody have a great weekend. This is Marty Kaiser out.